Hi guys, my name is Alanna Kaivalya. I am super excited to be here with you on Facebook and Instagram and probably YouTube. If I did this right, we've experienced a few tech glitches, so thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I'm here to talk to you today about the chakras and specifically how they relate to yoga psychology. We're going to take a deeper look at the chakras. I'm going to dispel some myths for you and give you some tools to achieve greater healing for yourself and your clients. All right, hopefully that did it, everybody. All right, everybody. So I was saying how the colors are not really associated with the chakras, and I know that that's going to break some hearts. They showed up for us in about the 70s or so and got linked haphazardly, but they are not historically linked, so don't get too attached to the colors. There are a lot of myths about the chakras and a lot of things that we sort of know and sort of don't know. This week in my newsletter, I told you a little story about how I was recently at a dinner table in a conversation with fellow yoga professionals, very good friends. We got to talking about the chakras and everybody had some different information about them. And nobody really understood exactly how they worked. And this actually is why my husband thinks that the chakras are so popular. Because we sort of know something, we sort of know a little bit, we don't know everything. They're kind of intriguing, they're really cool, but we're almost like trying to grasp for exactly what they are. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. Exactly. The chakras are different levels of psychology, specifically different layers of development. So as you develop as a human being from birth until where you are now, you're progressively locking into place the psychological structure and belief systems of each of these levels of consciousness. As human beings, we all go through different stages of development, but they're pretty much the same stages. So as much as we think that we're all unique and individual snowflakes, we're actually really similar on a lot of levels. So, for example, from about birth to 2 years of age is when all of us are locking down that root chakra. So whatever's going on during that time, and nobody gets through childhood unscathed, it's making an impression on that psychological layer of our being. And it's located at the base of the body. So if you've ever taken a psychology class, if you've ever studied Freud, you know that this rings true. He talked about the obsession of little babies at this area of the body physically, and also the stage of development from birth to about 2 years of age. This is when you are basically at the mercy of the world. You're at the mercy of your parents. They are either paying attention to you or they're not. They're either paying the right kind of attention to you or they're not. Everything is unique and individual for each little baby. They're either getting exactly what they need or not quite what they need. So that is all really stuck and instilled at this location, and it continues to play out for the rest of your life. So as you grow and evolve, you still have whatever belief systems were put on lockdown in the root chakra at this early stage of development. Now, I think that all of us would love to think, oh no, I've grown past that. I've solved those issues. You haven't. The issues are still there. They're still definitely present. And this is a lifelong inquiry that will be in perpetuity for as long as you live. So for us as yoga practitioners, we never get to tick that box. So on one hand, that's exciting. There's always something to do. You're always going to be challenged to step up your game, to reveal deeper levels of consciousness, to ascend to higher levels of awareness. There's always stuff to work on. There's always going to be things to uncover. And if we use the roadmap of the chakras, we have a much easier time figuring out what we need to uncover next and exactly where our bodies or our circumstances are pointing us. So the chakra system is actually a very elegant and eloquent communication system from your body to you. It makes it really easy for us to read our habits, patterns, and tendencies, our tightness, our uptightness, our dis-ease, our diseases, our chronic conditions, our acute conditions. All of it exists on deeper levels of being. So the last time that I was with you on our live broadcast here, I talked about the fact that we have layers in our body. So for yogis, you know that these are called the koshas. So the koshas, like an onion, represent different layers of the body. I won't go too much into them because you can pop back to the last live and get a little refresh. You can also read my book, Yoga Beyond the Mat, which I will post a link for below, that gives you more in detail information about the koshas. But essentially we have a physical layer on the outside, our outermost layer, and progressively deeper we go. So we have a physical layer, the next layer is our physiological layer, the moving parts. We have the mental layer, which is really the emotional layer. We like this, we don't like that. We have an intellectual layer that is kind of a higher mind. And then we have the blissful layer, the layer that is most closely snuggled to our bliss or our highest self, our soul, okay? So again, I'm not going to go too deeply into these. What I want to illustrate is that there are different layers of the body that progressively talk to one another. So if there's discomfort at a deep layer, that's going to have a reverberating effect on the more outer layers of the body, the physical layers. If there's discomfort on a physical layer, that's going to have an internalizing effect and affect you on a deeper level. Okay, so essentially what we learn from this concept of working our way out to in or in out is that nothing is ever just on the surface level. Okay, a broken bone is never just a broken bone. A bad posture is never just bad posture. There's deeper levels at which we want to look. Now, the chakras exist on those deeper levels, right? So we're going to find out what our belief systems, what our patterns and habits are holding on to when we look at these deeper levels. So that as we heal on the more physical layer, so as we heal our paper cut, right, we're also going to be healing the deeply held belief around what that paper cut is showing us. So I don't want to overcomplicate things, okay? And that is a tendency, especially for us as Westerners, to far overcomplicate things. What I want to do is give us a different option. So I think that all of us, on some level, are on a healing journey, right? Whether it is a profound healing journey, whether it's a light healing journey, whether we're healing from something, a chronic illness like myself. I've talked a lot about my Hashimoto's thyroiditis, my thyroid issue. That's been a huge catalyst to my own healing and health. Or something that's happening right now, something acute, all right? So whatever's going on in our life, we can use this deeper layer of the chakras to work with, because we have doctors who are going to work with the physical layer, okay? Our board-certified physicians are highly qualified to work with the physical layer of the body, so let's let them do that. Our psychologists are fully certified and accredited to work with part of the mental layer of the body. So I want to qualify that a little bit, because psychologists are qualified to work with the conscious mind, right? The conscious layer of the mind. You and I as yogis know we have at least 3 different pieces of our mind. We have the conscious layer, we have the unconscious layer, which is where the chakras are and where a lot of our work exists, and we have the higher mind, the super consciousness, essentially our spirit, that gives us guidance when we need it, and there's ways to tap into that. So psychologists work primarily with the conscious layer, so that leaves a lot of room for us as yogis to work with the soul, the unconscious, and the spirit, the higher mind. Great news, because nobody else is going to do that. So you and I have a really specific and powerful niche that is not being served currently by anybody else. Yay! That also means, yoga teachers, that we need to take this niche very seriously, and we need to do a really good job at helping our students and clients on this deeper, different level than other people who are also going to be helping them. This allows us to create a more rich sense of health, healing, well-being, peace, and bliss, even as we're still working on any physical disorder, malady, disease, or whatever is going on, okay? So one of the things that we often think about yoga is that it's the silver bullet and it will cure everything. Sorry to say, it does not. I know this from experience, but I'm sure you probably also know it from experience. As I've said, I have worked with a thyroid disorder. It is currently in remission. Yay! And I'd like to thank my amazing doctor, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, for helping me out with that. Again, medical professionals doing their jobs, right? So we may have something that is incurable. Okay? Yoga, there are things that you cannot meditate your way through. I could not meditate my way through my thyroid disorder. As much as I wanted to, as much as I believed shoulder stand was going to cure me, it doesn't, and it didn't. So we actually want to be full participants in all the parts of healing that are possible individually, and encouraging our clients to do so. So encouraging them to find the right doctor for them. I'm a huge fan of functional medicine. It's really changed my world. I can't live without it. I wouldn't recommend anybody live without it. So maybe that's something that you want to check out for, again, that physical and perhaps physiological layer. We as yoga teachers need to stay within the scope of our practice. So there is a role that we are all ready and positioned very well to play. That's not healing on the physical level. It's not healing on the purely mental level. That's healing on a deeper soul and spirit level. And that's where the chakras come in, okay? That's why it's so important to know and understand how the chakras work as layers of psychology, so that you can heal that psychology, that spirit. So yoga is a psycho-spiritual practice. I've said this before. I didn't make that word up. It does exist. Yoga does not tease out your conscious mind from anything else the way that modern day psychology does. All right. So modern day psychology says spirit, what? Soul, what? No. There are obviously some psychologists who have a different take and different point of view on that. Awesome. Good for you to find them. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm not saying all psychologists do not pay attention to this. I'm saying psychology as a discipline as a whole, for the most part, leaves out spirit and soul. We don't, right? We as yogis, we're deeply invested and interested in that. And that's the layer and level on which we can start to help heal people, to give them a greater sense of well-being, okay? We may not put their antibodies into remission, right? Like as happened to me when I took the functional medicine road of healing. But what I also learned was that through healing my thyroid, I had a lot of work to do here on the throat chakra, because here's the quote of the day, friends. Your body can only express the truth that it carries inside. I'll say that again. Your body can only express the truth that it carries inside. So this is, again, something that I write extensively about in my book, Yoga Beyond the Mat, and something that I teach extensively about in my Alchemy of the Chakras course, which certifies you in chakra therapeutics, all the stuff that I'm talking about today. So I'm going to put links for that below so that you can get more resources and information on that. I'm also going to invite you to join me for a free training on the chakras that's going to give you even more information that I'm providing with you today. Sign up. For those of you on Instagram, the link is in my bio. For those of you on Facebook and YouTube, the link will be below. So the body can only express the truth that it carries inside. So for a long time, I carried around a very specific story around my ability to speak up for myself. That was rooted in childhood. The throat chakra, for example, is put on lockdown. You are psychologically affirming your beliefs and understanding of the world between about the ages of 12 and 14. That's the throat chakra ages. When you start to realize your own voice, you start to have opinions about things. You start to decide for yourself what you want, which may be contrary to what the people around you want. A lot of angst and anxiety can come at this time, and it's all lodged right here. So if there's something that's going on at that stage of development, if there's a belief system put in place at that stage of development that you continue to play out as an adult, that's your truth. And your entire body will center around that. So I know for me, I had a lot of trauma at that age. I had a lot of things going on that told me I was not of value, that I could not speak up for myself, that my opinion, my truth wasn't worthy, that I was not worthy. And these were deeply set beliefs that then started to have an effect not only on my psychology, those deeper levels of the body, but they started to have bigger effects on their way out, my physiological body, my endocrine system, as well as my physical body, my actual physical thyroid. So these are things that I discovered for myself in my own healing journey, but I'm not an isolated case, okay? I see this happen with my own clients and students. I've heard the stories of people who have gone through the same process themselves, incredible stories of when they start to finally look at the deeper levels of what is being spoken through their body, they realize, holy F, I've been carrying this deeply held belief system around for a very long time. So our work as yoga teachers, number one, is to get to the actual psycho-spiritual root of whatever is going on. Okay, so nothing for us is ever just on the surface. Even something that seems to be on the surface, like a broken bone, or something that comes from outside you, like a car accident, it's going to have a deeper repercussion and bring up something that's lodged in that area. So when you ask the body to speak, and again, I'm inviting you to my free training, and in that free training, I teach you a very specific way to listen to the body so you can hear which levels, which layers of the chakras are speaking to you. When you invite the body to speak, you get really profound messages. And when you strengthen and develop that communication system, you strengthen your own ability to heal yourself on this deeper level. You actually create communication between your conscious mind and your unconscious or your soul on the body level. And that communication, my friends, is called yoga. When you make the conscious and the unconscious speak to one another, when you bridge that gap, that is the experience of yoga. So asking the body to speak, diving into these deeper layers, getting the information from the body that it is volunteering to you through pain, through discomfort, through tension, through tightness, through your uptightness, through your patterns, your habits, your belief systems. Your body is screaming to be heard and understood and acknowledged. And until you do that, it's going to continue to express the same truth, the only one that it knows, the one that was stuck in place at whatever stage of development we're talking about for whichever chakra is being activated. It's going to express the same thing over and over and over. On your psychological level, on your emotional level, on your physiological level, and your physical level. Even if you put a Band-Aid over that physical layer, until you change that deeper truth, you won't be able to express something differently. And I'm willing to bet that that issue or injury or disease is going to crop up again. So I want us to not underestimate the power of our work, that just because we're not licensed medical professionals or licensed therapists, that we don't have a place in the health, healing, and well-being of our clients, our students, and ourselves. We do. And in order to learn those techniques and to take that role more seriously, we do need to deepen our education. We need more information around the psychology of the chakras and how they actually work. So I've given you some information about that today. I've talked about how each of the chakras are locked in place. Your psychological development is essentially solidified at each layer of the chakras. So we start from birth to 2 with the first chakra. We go from 2 years of age to about 4 years of age with the second chakra, which makes perfect sense. Again, if you've ever studied Freud, you know that between the ages of about 2 and 4, there's this weird sexual obsession. And I know that that sounds strange. We never want to think of children having any kind of sexual thoughts at all, but Freud showed us that this is starting to occur for these little young children, and they're starting to look at their caretaker of the opposite sex in certain ways, knowing that, oh my gosh, there are other people around. It's not all about me. I'm not the center of their universe. These deeply held belief systems get locked into place, and then they play out in our intimate relationships as adults. So when you've studied the chakras in a cursory way in your 200-hour training, perhaps you heard that the second chakra is really influenced by your intimate relationships. Well, that's why. All right? So we can go progressively up through each of the 7 chakras and essentially find out exactly what was going on with us at each of these times and start to see how our habits, patterns, and tendencies are manifesting not only in our day-to-day life, but in our physical body. We can free ourselves from these belief systems through our yoga practices, through our meditation, to some extent through our asana, but mostly through our ritual and through our shadow work, the work that allows us to dig deeply into these layers to see what comes up. What put that belief system in place? What do we believe about ourselves, about our world? And how can we undo that belief system, not only to create more freedom on the psychological layer, but on the physiological layer, the emotional layer, the mental layer, and the physical layer? Because the name of the game, my friends, is freedom. We are here to set ourselves free. We are here to be free of all of the ties that bind. For yogis, we call that karma. We're here to be free of our old, stale belief systems, the ones that keep us small. We're here to liberate ourselves. And the words that mean liberation are things like moksha, yoga, Kaivalya even. All of these words are synonymous with yoga itself. Yoga meaning that joining of our psyche and soul, our spirit, and our unconscious. All of these things come together to create happiness, health, and harmony within our own mind, body, spirit complex. So I hope that you now understand a little more about why yoga psychology is such an important tool for learning, and why it's so important for us to know even more about the chakras, because it, to me, is really the most powerful and fundamental way in which we can actually create healing and work with our students. So when you're doing individual one-on-one work with students, which I know many of us do, and frankly, individual one-on-one work is another way to boost our bottom line, right? And you know that I'm always deeply concerned about how much money you're making as a yoga teacher. I want you to make more. That's why I have my business academy, because I want you to thrive as a yoga teacher. Your gifts, your education, your role on this planet is so needed. You are being called to step into your role as a spiritual leader. I want you to do it, and I want you to make great money doing it. So another thing that you can add to your repertoire is becoming certified in chakra therapeutics, utilizing these tools and this knowledge in order to serve your students better, which allows you to make more impact. It allows you to transform lives, but it's also another skill set that allows you to increase your bottom line, which is, again, a win-win for everybody. So I want to invite you to some more resources, right? I've kicked it off today, hopefully inspired and piqued some interest. So first resource, which is going to be below for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, and in my bio for those of you on Instagram, is my free training that teaches you more about the chakras, okay? Specifically chakra therapeutics for yoga teachers. I want you to go check that out. The second resource that I have is my book, Yoga Beyond the Mat. A lot of what I've talked about today, and even more, is in there. So check it out. You know, that's the reason why I wrote that resource, is so that you could have everything. I poured all the knowledge that I have on this stuff into that book for you, so you won't miss a beat. All right, everybody, lots of resources for you today. Hopefully some inspiration around the chakras. It's always my honor and my pleasure to be here with you, to spend this time with you, to get to know you a little bit better, to share some more information with you that's going to help you step into your role as a spiritual leader. So I'm going to sign off for now, and I will see you next week. In the meantime, you know where to find me. If you have not yet, please join my free Facebook group for modern mystics, so just for people like you and I. And make sure also that you join my newsletter. That's where you're going to get the most accurate information about what I'm talking about this week, and also lots and lots of free resources, because I've compiled a ton of things for you to help you on your path to spiritual leadership. All right, everybody, thanks so much for being here today. I will see you soon. Bye.